Everyone believed in the pastor's miracles, but only the newcomers was always testifying to his miracles. To me, it looks like something isn't right, but my curiosity led me to a secret so dark, exposing it would set the entire town ablaze. Miracles or manipulation? Let's find out. Once upon a time, in the busy town of Umuleke, where church bells rang out in harmony with daily life, the news of a new church called the House of True Wonders spread like wildfire. Everyone in the village always speaks about the miracles and healings. Pastor Gideon, a charismatic man with a voice that commanded attention, claimed to have direct communication with God. His powerful sermons and miraculous healing sessions drew people from far and wide. On Sundays, the church filled to capacity with hopeful souls, desperate for divine intervention. Rumors of Pastor Gideon's miraculous events spread quickly. People spoke of the lame walking, the blind seeing, and barren women cradling newborns. But to the observant few, one detail stood out. Only new attendees ever received these blessings. For a time, this peculiarity was overlooked as the congregation grew, captivated by the hope Pastor Gideon promised. Amara, a bright, perceptive girl with an unyielding curiosity, watched each service with sharp eyes. She noticed that familiar faces in the congregation never received miracles, only the newcomers. Even her own aunt, who attended for months, left each service unchanged, despite fervent prayers. Something about it gnawed at Amara, a feeling she couldn't shake. Determined to understand the truth, Amara began observing closely, paying attention to how each service unfolded. She noted the subtle glances exchanged between the pastor and strangers who miraculously recovered under his touch. It seemed too perfectly staged, too rehearsed. Her heart told her that something was fishy, but she needed proof. Amara confided in her friend Chika, who, though skeptical, agreed to help her investigate. They watched from a distance as Pastor Gideon interacted with his followers after each service. He moved through the crowd with an almost theatrical grace, dispensing blessings and words of hope. Yet his eyes never truly reflected the kindness in his voice. Chika soon voiced what Amara feared. What if these miracles are not real? What if he's tricking us? The question hung in the air, unsettling them both. They decided to keep their suspicions quiet for now, aware that accusing a beloved pastor without evidence could turn the town against them. One day, Amara heard that her childhood friend Ngozi had fallen seriously ill in a neighboring village. She set out on a journey to visit her, hoping to bring comfort. The dusty road was long, flanked by towering trees that whispered in the wind. As she approached the village, she noticed a familiar figure emerge from the shadows of a secluded path. It was Pastor Gideon, but he was not alone. He stepped out of a small, thatched shrine surrounded by charms and talismans. The air seemed thick with a power that made Amara's skin prickle. The herbalist, dressed in traditional robes, waved him off with a casual farewell. Pastor Gideon's eyes locked onto Amara's in shock, a brief flash of panic crossing his face. Caught in an awkward stare, Pastor Gideon quickly composed himself and approached Amara. His tone was smooth, almost soothing. "Amara, you must not misunderstand what you saw. I can explain everything," he began, but the urgency in his voice betrayed him. Amara remained silent, eyes fixed on him, heart pounding. "You're a clever girl, Amara," he continued, a forced smile on his face. "If you keep this between us, I promise you a life of comfort, money, influence, whatever you wish." His words left a bitter taste in her mouth. She felt the weight of his offer, but knew she could not be bought. Without another word, she walked away, leaving the pastor's voice trailing behind her, like a ghost. Amara spent days at Ngozi's side, nursing her friend and processing what she had seen. The memory of Pastor Gideon's visit to the shrine played over in her mind, each replay cementing her resolve. She felt a duty to her town, to the faithful people being deceived by a man they trusted, yet she knew that speaking up would be dangerous. Ngozi, though weak, noticed Amara's troubled expression. "What weighs on you, my friend?" she asked one evening. Amara hesitated, then shared her encounter. Ngozi's eyes widened in disbelief. "You have to tell them, Amara. They deserve to know the truth, even if it's painful." It was the push Amara needed to make her decision. As Amara left the village, the air felt heavy with the responsibility she now bore. The sky above seemed darker, mirroring her apprehension. She knew that revealing the truth could unravel the fabric of her community's faith, but silence was no longer an option. Each step she took brought her closer to Umuleke and closer to the moment of revelation. When she reached the town, she went straight to Chika's home and recounted everything she had witnessed. Chika listened with a mix of shock and dread. "This will change everything," he whispered. Amara nodded, determination in her eyes. They agreed to gather others who shared their doubts and reveal the pastor's secret the following Sunday. The day of reckoning arrived. Amara sat in the pews, heart thundering as Pastor Gideon took his place at the pulpit. His sermon was as powerful as ever, filled with stories of sacrifice and divine encounters. But this time, Amara saw through the facade. She exchanged a glance with Chika, who nodded in silent agreement. As the service reached its climax, Amara stood up. "Pastor Gideon," she called, her voice cutting through the air like a blade. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to her, and a flicker of anger flashed across the pastor's face. "I know where you were last week," she said firmly. "I saw you come out of the shrine of the herbalist." Gasps echoed through the hall, and murmurs spread like wildfire. Pastor Gideon's mask cracked, revealing a glimmer of fear. He tried to regain control, forcing a smile. "My dear, you must be mistaken," he began. But Amara stepped forward, unwavering. "I am not mistaken, and I will not be silenced." The weight of her words silenced the room again. Murmurs of doubt became louder. People began recalling the oddities they had once ignored, the scripted way miracles unfolded, the pastor's guarded interactions. Even those who wanted to believe found themselves questioning everything. Pastor Gideon's charm was fading, and the crowd's loyalty shifted from reverence to suspicion. Seeing the crowd turn, Pastor Gideon's composure shattered. But even the most devout members, now riddled with doubt, took a step back. His voice grew defensive, eyes darting for support among his followers. Amara's bravery ignited their buried suspicions, and now they saw him for what he was, a fraud. The pastor's pleas turned desperate. "I only sought to bring hope, to help you believe," he shouted. But his words only fueled the anger rising in the room. Accusations flew, and before long, someone shouted, "Deceiver!" The words struck like lightning, sparking chaos. The once devout followers surged forward, their faith crumbling into rage. Pandemonium erupted. Someone hurled a stone at the altar, shattering the calm that had once defined the sacred space. As shouts filled the church, others followed, breaking pews and smashing windows. Pastor Gideon, trapped and overwhelmed, attempted to flee, but found every exit blocked by a crowd demanding justice. The chaos spilled into the street, where people dragged out furniture and set it ablaze. Flames licked up the wooden walls, devouring the building that had once been a beacon of hope. Amara and Chika stood at the edge of the crowd, watching as the fire illuminated the night sky, a testament to the power of truth and the consequences of deceit. The town gathered in stunned silence as dawn broke over the smoldering ruins of the House of True Wonders. The air was thick with smoke and unspoken thoughts. No one spoke of the pastor's fate. Whether he escaped or was consumed by the flames remained a mystery. Amara felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow as she watched the embers glow. Elders held impromptu meetings, discussing how they could rebuild a trust and faith without falling prey to another deceiver. Chika squeezed Amara's hand and whispered, "You did the right thing." She nodded, a tear rolling down her cheek. It was the end of an era for Umuleke, but it marked the beginning of a new, cautious chapter in their story. The days that followed were quiet, but filled with purpose. The townspeople gathered to share their stories and support each other. They spoke of how they had felt betrayed, how easy it had been to believe in miracles promised by a man who knew how to play on their faith. But they also spoke of resilience and community. Amara found herself at the center of many conversations. "You open our eyes, child," said Mama Nkechi, a respected elder. "May we never be so blind again." The words humbled Amara, who realized that while the church was gone, the people's faith, bruised but not broken, was finding new ways to heal. New leaders emerged, encouraging townspeople to look inward for strength. They rebuilt a smaller church, not filled with grandeur, but with sincerity. Services became moments of true fellowship, where people spoke from their hearts, shared their hopes, and supported each other without the theatrics of false miracles. Amara and Chika attended, feeling proud that the town had chosen the path of honesty. Trust, they realized, could not be forced. It needed to be earned, nurtured like a fragile plant. And so, the town of Umuleke began to thrive again, not under the shadow of deception, but in the light of their shared truth. Months passed, and life in Umuleke took on a peaceful rhythm. The community's new leader, a humble man named Elder Abuka, guided services that focused on genuine acts of kindness and faith, without spectacle. Stories of Pastor Gideon became cautionary tales told to children, reminders of the dangers of blind faith. Amara felt a renewed sense of purpose. She continued to help her community, knowing that vigilance and honesty were the strongest shields against future deception. The town would never forget the fire that exposed the false prophet, but they learned to look beyond smoke and mirrors, seeking only the true light that guided their hearts forward. Pastor Gideon's downfall is a reminder that manipulating others for personal gain will eventually lead to negative consequences. Deceit not only harms the deceiver, but also damages trust within a community.